Sashi peke chukshi meto chan rirab lingshe nide gemba di sangye shinto mikte ulwar ki drogun namda shingla chepar sho yedam guru ratna mandrala kam niryata yami sangye chodan tsoge chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi chushe gibe sonam ki drola pinchira sangye drupa Sangye chodan tsoge chonam lam chancho pardo dani kyapsu chi dagi chushe gibe sonam gi drola pinchira sangye drupar sho sangye chodan tsoge chonam lam chancho pardo dani dagi jinso gibe sonam ki drola pinchir sangye druparasho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. Aye ke da lhudan chin ke drubon da mi ke namda drubo kunge dhanam chi tsampa tamche ke do da ge che ten. As it was said by Shantideva, Komna lawar migyurpe mute kanyang yomain. There is nothing that is not easy. Komna lawar migyurpe, once familiarized with. So anything becomes easier as we get familiarized with it. And to familiarize with something, what we need to do? Repeat. Repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat. The more we do something, the easier it becomes. Okay? And the final objective is that at one point it becomes natural, it becomes spontaneous. Okay? So, I will give now a short explanation about something that concerns the process of familiarization that is, like advanced mode practice, okay? And it's not for most of us, but still, it's important for us to know that there is this pathway. It's like we know that it's possible to follow on that road, okay? So I will explain it mainly like for us to know what are the possible next steps, but not as a way to say, okay, do it right now, okay? So we have explained before that in order to transform our mind in a deeper level, we need to generate the antidotes, which means love and compassion and wisdom, first at a gross level, then we need to induce it at a subtle level, then at a very subtle level. And we use the process of the natural process of the body, of dissolution of the elements, in order to do that. Okay? Now, some days ago we explained what we call the 3 transformations, which is called transforming death into the Dharmakaya, transforming Bardo into the Sambhogakaya, transforming rebirth into the Nirmanakaya. In other words, to transform death into the pure, into the very subtle body and mind in a pure state, transform the Bardo, the intermediate state, into the subtle body and mind in a pure state, and transform rebirth into the body and mind on a gross level in a pure state. Okay? So, this process of transformation, of bringing our mind to a more subtle level of existence with the love and compassion, and then from this very subtle level of existence, generating once again in a subtle and gross form to help others, this can be done into 3 stages, okay, which is called during meditation, during sleep, and during the actual death. Okay. So the first 3 is that when we mixed together, okay, we imagine clear light, so we imagine entering into the subtle state and a very subtle state, and we mix the clear light of meditation, okay, with great bliss and emptiness. But we are doing this process as an imaginary process. We are imagining that the winds are dissolving, we are imagining that the elements are dissolving, we are imagining the process of death and so on. Okay? And this is what we call the 3 transformations during meditation. So we mix the clear light of meditation with basically what we call the Dharmakaya of meditation. We mix the Bardo of meditation with the Sambhogakaya, the pure subtle body and mind, and we mix the rebirth of meditation with the Nirmanakaya, which is called the body of emanation, which is the gross body and mind in a pure state. Okay? Once we are able to do that in our meditation, and we get deeply familiarized with it, there is a moment in which we can start mixing the clear light of sleep with the Dharmakaya, the dream with the Sambhogakaya, and the awakening with the Nirmanakaya. Okay? These are called the next 3 mixings. So basically, the sleep, when we fall asleep, the natural process of dissolution of the elements happen. For example, when we are falling asleep, what is one of the first signs that we are falling asleep? Our eyes start yawning. The body starts to feel heavy. We have difficulty keeping our eyes open. These are all the signs that we are falling asleep. This means the element earth is losing strength. Okay? As the earth loses strength, the water manifests. Then the water loses strength, and the fire manifests. Then the fire loses strength, and the wind manifests. Then the wind loses strength, and the space of consciousness manifests. So, the process that happens as we fall asleep is the same process that happens in the moment of death. There is the difference of strength of it, but the process itself is the same. So, as we fall asleep, we lose contact with our senses. First, we are not able to see anymore, then slowly we stop listening, then finally there is no more touch, no more taste, no more smell. Okay? And when we wake up, it's exactly the opposite. The last part that we function is opening the eyes. First we start feeling taste and smell and touch, and then we feel the sounds, and then gradually we can open our eyes and see. So, when we fall asleep, there is a moment in which we can still perceive the elements dissolving, but then there is a moment in which for most of us it's a complete process without any awareness. We are not able to perceive with awareness the dissolution of the other elements. Okay? Much less can we perceive the white vision, the white vision of sleep, the red vision of sleep, the black vision of sleep, and much less we can perceive the clear light of sleep. Okay? But it's explained that in the moment that we fall asleep, there are different levels, different depths of sleep. And we reach the deepest level of sleep, that's when we start dreaming. And this happens after the complete process of the white vision, the red vision, the black vision, and the clear light of sleep. Okay? So, what the practitioner is supposed to do is to be able to observe and recognize one's own process of dissolution of the elements during the process of falling asleep, which is not to meditate like by imagining it. It's to be able to recognize the actual dissolution of the elements as we fall asleep. And if we don't have really a very high level of preparation on that, what will happen to most of us, as some people have told me that they tried, is that you will start trying to observe your sleep, and then when you are observing the dissolution of the earth, boom, after that you are not conscious anymore. Okay? But the difficulty is that in this process, we need to keep awareness, but not control. Because if you try to keep the control of what is happening, you cannot fall asleep. If you don't have the awareness, you're not able to perceive what happens. So it requires a very profound state of awareness and a very soft and gentle state of awareness, through which you are able to observe and see the actual dissolution of the elements. Okay? When this happens, it's possible to experience the clear light of sleep. And in the process of the clear light of sleep, which is not the very subtle mind as in the moment of death, but still it's a subtle state of consciousness that happens naturally as we fall asleep, then to mix the clear light of sleep with the Dharmakaya, which means with the lack of inherent existence within great bliss. So, the second step after doing a meditation is to be able to observe one's own process of falling asleep. And when we recognize the clear light of sleep, we are able to remain in that state, meditating on the Dharmakaya. I am the non-dual union of great bliss and emptiness in this very subtle level of consciousness. It's a state beyond the normal meditation, because in the normal meditation, we are just imagining the clear light. Here there is an actual physical process happening as we fall asleep. Okay? Because how can we meditate when we actually die if we are not able to meditate when we fall asleep? Okay, so falling asleep with correct awareness is one of the main preparations to die with the correct awareness. Because most of us, we will try to keep awareness as we fall asleep, and we cannot go beyond the dissolution of earth. If we can go beyond the dissolution of water, it's already a lot. But most of the times we are not able. Okay? So because of that, it is explained that we need to go through a long process of awareness, of developing this subtle awareness and concentration. And then gradually, slowly, we're able to keep our mind with awareness on much less, less gross states of mind. Because now our mind is most of the times connected to external objects. And when we are when we fall asleep, as soon as we turn off that external content, it's like if our mind goes off. Instead, it is possible to keep a very subtle level of awareness. And without developing that, it becomes not possible to be aware as we fall asleep through this whole process. Okay? Then, once falling asleep, from the clear light of sleep, there is a moment in which we wake up within a dream. Okay? To wake up within a dream, it's extremely similar to the process of being reborn in the bardo, in the intermediate state. Okay? So this is the moment in which we should do the mixing of the dream state with the Sambhogakaya, which means I wake up within a dream, but I have awareness that it is a dream. I have awareness that I am dreaming. And based on that awareness, I direct my dream consciously. And I generate myself as the Buddha with a pure form. And during the dreams, I do all the holy actions of a Buddha, of helping others and making offerings and all of that. Okay? So it's similar to what we were explaining yesterday about the visualizations that we do from the 5 chakras, where we somehow simulate the actions of a Buddha. Imagine doing that in a dream. We're not visualizing anymore, we are dreaming it. It's a different experience. Okay? So this is when we mix. This is explained as being mixing the dream with the Sambhogakaya. Okay? Then, from within the dream state, there is a moment in which the practitioner says, okay, in order to be of benefit for more beings, I need to manifest myself in a gross body. And so, you wake up with the intention of being of benefit for others, and as you wake up, you generate yourself as the Buddha, as the Guru Idam, as the Buddha. We generate ourselves in that way, which is called transforming the awakening into the Nirmanakaya, or the emanation body. Okay? And I explained some days ago that one of my teachers in Tibet, he never lays down to sleep. The reason why some practitioners do not lay down to sleep and stay the whole night sitting in meditation is intended to practice the 3 mixings during sleep. Okay? So normally it's like they will wake up in the morning already. When waking up, like in the moment of waking up, already waking up with the self-generation as the Buddha, with that identity. Okay? One time I was talking to one of my friends in Sera Monastery called Siling Tongpo Rinpoche, which is a very important reincarnated Lama for Sera Monastery. And we were having a talk before the debate, during the debate session, and we talked about dreams, and then he told me, he was in a very humble way, he said, but for me it's normal since I have memories of dreaming, and he had memories since he was very small. He said, for me, isn't it normal that you have this awareness, I am falling asleep, now I am asleep, I start dreaming, now I am dreaming, and now I wake up. And he was saying, like, isn't this the normality? And I was saying to him, actually not, you know. So to be able to do this second level of the 3 transformations, one of the requirements is to be able to keep awareness as we fall asleep, as we dream, and as we wake up. Okay? And here we're not entering into details on that, but just to say, imagining the power of familiarization of one's mind, if you not only direct the mind during the day with meditation and so on, but also during the night you're able to do these three transformations as every night one falls asleep. So as you fall asleep, you identify yourself with a very subtle body and mind. Then in the dreaming, we identify ourselves with a subtle body and mind as a Buddha. And then we wake up with the intention to help others through a gross body, imagining that we are the Buddha again and identifying ourselves with that state. It's a very powerful process. Okay? So with this we have 6 mixings. Mixing the Dharmakaya, or mixing the death or the clear light of meditation with the Dharmakaya, mixing the Bardo of meditation with the Sambhogakaya, mixing the rebirth of meditation with the Nirmanakaya. This is what we do in self-healing, this is what we do in other sadhanas. Okay? Then, once we have familiarized with that, then we can go to the next step, which is mixing the clear light of sleep with the Dharmakaya, mixing the dreaming state with the Sambhogakaya, mixing the awakening with the Nirmanakaya. Okay? Just one small advice or idea, something that you can do, is when you fall asleep, try to focus on the dissolution of the elements and generating a correct motivation. Okay, I want to be of benefit for others, generating a state of love, and reflect a little bit on the lack of inherent existence, on interdependence. Try to generate that state of mind, first of all. Okay? And then when waking up, for example, one verse that you can recite, this is normally what I try to do every morning, is waking up with a verse from self-healing. Lama kuncho sumla kyabso chirang la se dori songna cho donga cho sonyer cho tada dum gejo kunto chishin rotun che. As you wake up, just the first thing. No? As we wake up, the first thing, I take refuge in the Guru, in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I appear myself as a pure being, as a Buddha, holding Vajra and bell, method and wisdom within great bliss. I commit myself to hold the sutras and the tantras and to act for the benefit of every sentient being at every moment of my life. Okay? So we make this intention and we generate this awareness as soon as we wake up. Okay? If you are doing any other sadhana, like as Vajrayogini or Yamantaka or any other sadhana, you can do the self-generation as Vajrayogini or Yamantaka and so on as you wake up in the morning. Otherwise, this verse is perfect, because through that we take refuge, we connect with our motivation, we generate ourselves in a pure state, we identify ourselves with our qualities, and we connect in a pure state. We commit to practice love, compassion, and wisdom, and then we commit to help other sentient beings as we practice the Dharma. So, if you can learn this verse in Tibetan and maybe in your own language, in English, in Italian, in Portuguese, whatever language, and you recite it in the early morning as you wake up, it's also something very good, okay? Then after that, then you can do other prayers and other things. But just as waking up, the first thing, open your eyes, just sit. Lama kunjo somla kyabso chirani la se dori sona cho donga cho sonyer cho gecho kunto chishin drotun che. Once or 3 times. Okay? So, here we have 6 mixings. The next 3 mixings are actually mixing the mother clear light with the child clear light, which is mixing the actual death, in which we are able to keep the awareness during the process of our own death and to recognize each one of the steps and keep this state of love and wisdom within great bliss, as we go through all the dissolution of the elements. And once we reach that state, we recognize ourselves within the state of clear light. But then, it's not anymore imagining, it's doing the actual thing. It's the actual clear light, which is called Mother Clear Light, that becomes Dharmakaya. We experience the Dharmakaya, which is this very subtle body and mind in a pure state that realize the true nature of reality. Within great bliss, we do that, we do it actually through the actual moment of death. Okay? This is the sixth mixing. Then this is the seventh mixing. Then the eighth mixing is we mix the actual Bardo with the Sambhogakaya. And then we mix the actual rebirth with the Nirmanakaya. In other words, during one's lifetime, we pass the whole life meditating on the three transformations, especially on transforming death into the Dharmakaya. That's the most important one. If we don't do that well, the rest won't come. If we do that well, the rest will come spontaneously almost. So, we meditate on this process again and again, 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 tirelessly. Possibly at least 4 times a day. Okay? So as we wake up in the morning, later in the morning, then afternoon, then in the evening, we try to go back to that again and again. And I had one experience once, which for me was quite intense, and it taught me many things. Was the experience when we were doing the paintings of this Gompa. Okay? And I was working in the computer for so many hours, and for the period of almost 2 days, I didn't do other thing than actually thinking on these paintings. And I am not exaggerating. I was not thinking about food. I was not thinking about resting. I was not thinking about anyone. I was quite antipatico. I was quite not so nice to people also, because I was single-pointed to finish the job and to have everything done. So in my mind, I had nothing else for almost 2 months than the actual paintings. During one part of this, I was giving teachings in the morning and then working on it in the afternoon. Then during the rest of it, it was like at least 18 hours a day in front of the computer. And one night sleeping, one night without sleep. And when I was sleeping was only 3 hours. But it was amazing because it was like all the energy into it. My full energy was into this, nothing else. And what I saw is that I would dream with it. There was a moment in which being awake or sleeping was almost the same. And when I was sleeping, I was dreaming with it. And I remember like dreaming in pixels and dreaming with the tools of Photoshop, you know. And I would do things as if I was doing the same thing. And it was like this constant state. It was blissful actually. It was not tiring. It was physically consuming in a way, but was not mentally tiring. It was very joyful. But what I thought at the time, I said, look at the power of familiarization. Take a mind, put into something and not doing anything else for 2 months. How strong is that? So, what happens if we focus on self-healing? Wake up in the morning, self-healing. With time, no hurry, do the full practice. Then take some break just to rest a little bit. Again, self-healing. The whole process with all the necessary attention and energy, and remain in the practice with the identity. Then have a short lunch. Then in the afternoon again. At least 3 hours. Full attention. Then have an early dinner. Then in the early evening again. Then as soon as you finish, have a short rest and then you go to sleep. and then you go to sleep with the same awareness. And then when you wake up, again the practice. And you repeat this. Imagine that you do the practice of self-healing for at least 12 hours a day. Okay? When I had the experience of Tatual, I understood that we can do much more than 12 hours if we know how to use well our energy. Okay? So, let's say we do 12 hours a day for 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Imagining being for 3 months just doing the practice one moment after the other. Arriving a moment in which one session somehow is the continuation of the one before. We connect the two things. And it remains this constant state of visualization. You dream with the practice. You wake up in the practice. You eat with the practice. You sleep with the practice. You're every moment doing that 24 hours for a certain period of time. How strong is that? Okay, these are called retreats. Okay? That's the concept of a retreat. Retreat is not just to close oneself and not see other people, you know. Some people think that, I go on retreat, so I don't talk to anyone. I feel somehow fancy that I am in retreat. In retreat means we retreat ourselves from all distractions and we focus on what we want to familiarize ourselves with and nothing more. And when we do that for a certain period, we can go into a much deeper experience. That's why I truly believe that for any one of us that wants to have a deeper experience with any meditation practice, we must have serious retreats. Serious, I mean a moment in which we are fully able to dedicate our attention and not into much other things. We can have moments of some more intense practice, but if in the middle, if in between we are busy with other things, the effect is different than if we are full attention into the practice. Okay? This is one of the reasons that I believe very much in the importance of retreats. That's why also I have as a project, not only me, together it was Rinpoche's idea also, to have here in the center, on the part of the forest after the temple, we have the possibility to build some 12 to 15 small meditation houses for single person. The reason for that is that I believe that all of us, after having some knowledge about the practice, we need to have solitary experience of retreat. We need to go and do 1 week, 10 days, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, sit down and meditate. Sit down and do the practice. Once we have studied, once we have understood the practice, once we have had some experience, after studying the commentary, we know what to do, and then we just go there and do it. Because if we enter into this process of familiarization, again and again, again and again, again and again, then we can actually go much deeper into the practice. Okay? It's not an easy process very often, because it may be tiring, it may be consuming one's own energy, we need to accumulate a lot of merits, otherwise it can become very difficult also, the process. But it's something very important to be done. So if we look in all the previous centuries, anyone who was truly interested into the practice, at one point went into retreat. Rinpoche himself did many retreats. And I hope one day I will have more time for retreat. I did few, but not enough. And it's very nice to do retreat in a group, but it's also nice to do retreat alone. Are two different things. Both of them are important. So imagine that if you go into this process of familiarization so deeply, with so much intensity, there is a moment in which the practice becomes part of us. And then we can gradually start applying also as we dream, as we wake up. And then if we do this constantly as the life moves on, there is a very high probability that we are able to do the practice as we die. To keep the awareness and to do the three mixings in the moment of death, actual bardo, and rebirth. Okay? But sure, in order to do that, it's a full-time job. And it's not just a matter of make your prayers and ask the Buddhas to bless you. No, it's a matter of sit down, meditate again and again and again and again and again and again. This reminds me of this short story of Milarepa. No? That Milarepa, who knows, was one of the most important meditators in Tibetan Buddhist history. And he put a lot of effort on his path. And one day he was saying goodbye to one of his main disciples, who was called Rechumpa. So Milarepa was already very old. Rechumpa was about to go on a trip which was going quite far. At that time in Tibet there was no any other form of transport other than going on horses or yaks or donkeys. And he was going walking actually. And you need to go through the mountains and everything. So he was about to leave. Milarepa accompanied him up to a part of his road. And when they were departing, Milarepa said to Rechumpa, "Oh, my son, you can go safe because you have everything that you need for your journey." Referring to his spiritual path. Referring that he had taught him everything he needed. Referring that he could go safe because both of them knew that they would not meet again in that lifetime. So imagine the intensity of the moment, no? So at that moment, Rechumpa goes, and then when he has done some steps, I don't know, I imagine like some 10, 15 meters, something like this, Milarepa calls him back and says, "Oh, my son, come back here. I forgot to give you the most important of all teachings." And Rechumpa, I imagine Rechumpa saying, "Wow, luckily you remembered now, no?" So he went towards Rechumpa, towards Milarepa. "Oh yes, my master." When he reaches nearby Milarepa, Milarepa turns his back on him, raises his skirt, and shows his bump. And it said that it was very ugly, like the back of a monkey, because of so many years meditating on the rough rock. His skin was all rough and dark, of so much time meditating, sitting on the rock, because Milarepa didn't have resources even to get a cushion. So he passed years and years meditating in the cave, sitting in the cold rock, and he had marks in his body because of this. So then he turned his back again, he turned his face to Milarepa, to Rechumpa, and he said to him, "Remember, without effort, there is no result. If we don't put energy into things, results won't come. We can have all the knowledge, we can have all the blessings, we can have all the conditions. If we do not put our own energy, we will not walk on the path." So, and what I see sometimes is that there's two attitudes that can happen on us. Sometimes we relax within our good qualities. Like some people, sometimes we relax within our intelligence. In the sense, "Oh, look how intelligent I am, I can understand this, I can do that." And we have a good capacity for meditation, we have a good predisposition, we have a good capacity to understand teachings and everything, spontaneous. And we relaxed within our qualities. We don't go out of the comfort zone. And sometimes we relax within our ignorance. Oh, I am ignorant, so I am ignorant, and so I remain in my ignorance. To put effort means to allow ourselves to go beyond our own comfort zone, walking in the right direction. Okay? And it's not something necessarily easy, and it's not something necessarily pleasurable. But it's something meaningful. So it's like we sit down, we do the practice once we have an understanding well of it, and then we repeat it, and then we repeat it, and then we repeat it. And what happens is that in the beginning we start creating familiarization with the practice. Then at a certain point, when the conditions are there, and we have the right understanding and experience, then we should go full energy. Because if we try to go into retreat without having the right inner conditions, then we may be lost, We're there by ourselves, we don't know really what to do, we don't know really how to meditate. That's why there is no hurry to do retreat. There are some traditions in which they put effort to start doing retreat from the very beginning, which has its own benefits also. In our tradition, we do retreat when we are ready to do retreat, which means when we know what to meditate upon, when we have some understanding, when we have some experience. But it is important to do it. And sometimes there is this understanding that the important thing is to do the retreat. The important thing is to familiarize one's own mind with the practice. It's not to do the retreat. The retreat is just a tool. Because I have heard and seen and talked to people that do retreat, and they experience the retreat as some sort of punishment almost, I cannot go out, I need to do all these mantras, so just take the time to count the mantras and start to get anxiety because cannot go out. And finally, okay, I finished the retreat because I did such a number of mantras. Okay, I rejoice at some point. But what we really need to do is to get deep familiarization with the practice. So the objective is that we do all the number of mantras, but that's something just to make it it's just a warm-up to do the mantras. To do all the 100,000 mantras and 400,000 mantras, that's just a warm-up. The objective is that afterwards we're done, like in many practices it is described like this. Once you have finished the number of mantras, then you need to focus on the actual visualizations and meditations and so on. So, what I want to say, making it short, is that we have very powerful tools in our hands, but it depends how we use them. It depends how much time we put into them, how much energy we invest into our own meditation practice. Self-healing is a very powerful, it's a very complete spiritual practice. And it's a matter of doing it or not doing it. As we have seen during these previous days, every step of the meditation can be done very deeply, with many details. It's a matter if we do it or not. One advice that has been given for a long time is that whenever we start doing any meditation practice, in the beginning we do the middle version. We don't make it too short, we don't make it too long. So let's say we start doing self-healing, we can take half an hour, 40 minutes. with all the preliminaries, it can be like 1 hour practice. That's a good halfway. Then, once we have familiarity with that, by doing it many times, we start studying every part, we start learning more about every step, and then we start doing the long version. Like the long version of self-healing, doing it with the correct attention, should take more or less around 3 hours. Okay? It's okay. 2 hours and a half maybe. No, depends how much we stay on each meditation, how much time we give to the visualization, and so on. Then we go into our meditation practice giving more and more emphasis to every detail. So we go deep into every detail, we do the practice with every detail, we try to go deep into it and make it the most extensive and detailed-oriented possible. Then once we have familiarized ourselves with making the practice in a long way, then we should do the practice in a very short way, without losing the quality of the long practice. Okay? So, we should generate the same mental states and the same motivation and so on as when we do the long practice, making it short. So the process is first we do middle, then we do long, and then after we do short. Okay? And by doing that, we familiarize ourselves more and more and more with the actual practice. So, on a very practical level, I think each one can start by doing the practice into the level in which you are. You know, sometimes we do all the practice without truly understanding what we are saying or what is the meaning of the mantras and the mudras, but it's okay. We give some space to how we feel. Then slowly we start to add meaning to it, one step after the other. Okay? Once we start to have a better understanding of the practice, one of my advices is, most of us don't have the time and the inner space to do the practice on a long way every day. Okay? It's difficult for us to do the practice dedicating 1.5 hours with attention and time, 2 hours every day. Some of us can do it, others cannot. Okay? So, what we can do is that we take the practice of self-healing and we choose every week or every 3 days, whatever fits better for us, we give emphasis on a different part of the practice. We start by giving emphasis on the breathing techniques in the beginning. Just breathing meditation, 9-cycle breathing, that's all. Do it slowly, no hurry, take your time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever time it takes. Do it slowly without any hurry, the first part. Then the rest of the practice you do a little bit faster, from taking refuge and so on. And do it for 1 week like this. Then the next week, do the breathing technique a little bit faster, and then take all the time to do the refuge. So meditate on the Four Noble Truths, generate the intention to get out of samsara, do the visualization of Guru Buddha, do the visualizations of taking refuge, and so on. Take refuge with time, do some accumulation of the prayer of refuge. Do it without any hurry. Take half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever time it takes. Stay there. And then do the rest of the practice a little bit more fast. Okay? After 1 week, you do breathing technique and refuge without giving too much attention. And then you do the generating the bodhicitta with a lot of time. Put emphasis into that part of the practice. And then you do, when you visualize all sentient beings, generate love and compassion, do the visualizations and everything give 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour at least to generating the bodhicitta. Okay? You have 52 weeks in a year. Okay? So after that, next week, okay, generating of the actual motivation. So you can give emphasis to the moment in which Semchen, Tamchen, Dewa, Dandewe, and then all the emanations going and helping sentient beings, and then Guru Buddha dissolving into us and generating the intention to why we want to do self-healing and so on. Then after that, another week you can give emphasis into the part of making offerings, and then inviting Guru Buddha, and then you give emphasis into the part in which the wisdom beings come and absorb into the commitment beings, into our visualization. Then you give emphasis on the 7 limb prayers, or all the 7 together, or you give emphasis one at a time. You can make even 1 week for prostrations, 1 week for offerings, 1 week for purification, 1 week for rejoicing, 1 week for requesting the teachings, 1 week for requesting Guru Buddha to stay with us, 1 week for dedication. Then you take another week which is dedicated specially to request the blessings and focus in the mandala offering, focus in making the request. Then you have another week into receiving the blessings. And like this you go on until you have 1 week dedicated for the Guru Yoga, 1 week dedicated for the lotus or for the 3 transformations, then 1 week dedicated for the lotus, 1 week for the 6 syllables, and like this you go on until you reach the end of self-healing. It's less than 52, okay? Then when we reach the end of self-healing, what we do? Start again from the beginning, emphasis at the breathing. And like this we go on. By making the practice in this way, this will allow everyone to be able to go deeper into the practice without having to take 4 hours, 5 hours every day. You take there in 1 hour, you can do it. Okay, so it's not possible to go deep into every part of the practice every day, but you can focus on one part of the practice every day. But instead of making each day one part of the practice to focus on, it's better to do like 1 week every part of the practice to focus. Because then you repeat the next day, and then you can go a little bit deeper. You can have a little bit more of experience on that part. Okay? And the beautiful thing is that if you start to make more and more, to have more and more familiarity with the different parts of the practice, later you need less time to generate the same state of mind. Okay? But it's important that every time you do the practice, you do the complete practice from beginning to end. But you don't need to give the same time and emphasis to all of it. We can do just one mantra, and then when we reach to one specific point, we can do 100 mantras. There's no need to do everything in the same way. Okay, I think it's quite clear, right? Okay. Because there is one issue, no? We make the commentary on the practice of self-healing, but we need to remind ourselves that self-healing is a practice. A practice means an exercise. An exercise is something that needs to be done. Having the whole theory may be beautiful, but it's not really so useful if we don't do it. Okay? Sorry if I'm a little pushy. But it's just something that we have this incredible tool in our hand. And some people may ask, oh, but which practice I do? No, I have learned so many practice, so many sadhanas. There is self-healing, and then there is the environment, then there is Black Manjushri, then there is Vajrapani, then there is Medicine Buddha, and then there is also Guya Samaja, and then there is Hiruka, then there is the Guru Puja, and then there is so much, and then they have the Kandring or this or that. You know, we can add up. And if we need to do all the sadhanas, you wake up until you wake up without sleeping, and you still have not finished it. Rinpoche taught us so many, then you have the whole Vajravali. No? Now Lama Caroline is translating all the sadhanas of the Vajravali. Imagine if you need to do all of that. What's the point? The point is to generate love and wisdom, union of great bliss and emptiness, change our own identity, accumulate merits, purify one's negativities. That's the point. These are all tools. It's wonderful to have many tools, but we need to use them. So my advice, following masters from the past, in which, like Atisha said, you Tibetans practice 100 deities and realize none. We Indians practice one and realize all. So I would follow the advice of Atisha. And something that Rinpoche have repeated many times, he's saying all you need is actually self-healing. And my own experience is that if we know self-healing well, if we go deeper into the practice of self-healing, then any other sadhana that we do becomes quite easy. Like tomorrow, there will be here the self-empowerment of Vajrayogini will be done. Okay, self-initiation of Vajrayogini. If you read the text and you have a good basis of self-healing, you can understand quite well. If you take what we have seen of self-healing and the 4 initiations and everything we have seen, you can understand it quite clearly. Otherwise, it's a lot of symbology. You go through it, it's difficult to understand what it means, how to meditate on it, it's so complicated. So if we have a good basis on self-healing, this will give us a good basis on any other sadhana. Actually, self-healing by itself is enough. But if we have a good basis on it, it will help us to do any other sadhana. Someone may ask me, but if one practice is enough, why Rinpoche have taught us so many different sadhanas? So many different practices? 2 reasons. One is because Rinpoche shared with us his complete lineage. So he took all the methods that he shared it with us. Okay? Why are there so many methods? Because we are different. And also we have different moments in our lives. For some people, the practice of Tara will fit better. For other people, the practice of Heruka will fit better. For other people, the practice of Yamantaka will fit better. For other people, the practice of self-healing will fit better. Okay? The practice of self-healing still is on the basis of all the other. It's like the essence of all the other sadhanas on many levels. So my advice is give some emphasis to the practice of self-healing. All the other practices are wonderful. If you do one main practice, then give emphasis to that practice. It can be Black Manjushri, it can be Vajrapani, it can be Guya Samaja, it can be Vajrayogini, it can be any practice, as it can be self-healing. Sometimes some people come to me and say, oh Lama, I do everyday self-healing, but I cannot do all these other practices. That's wonderful. Take advantage of that. And focus on self-healing. Go deep into it. I have seen people coming to me sometimes, people that have not done many other sadhanas, just self-healing, but they took it very seriously, having incredible experiences, really special experiences, And sometimes it's interesting because people that don't have so much understanding of experience and understanding about the Dharma in general, quite new somehow, but practicing with so much enthusiasm and dedication and knowledge by studying and everything, have experiences which are not obvious, but very humbly. Are not feeling anything special. They are just sharing how they feel and what happens within them, And it works. So, my advice is we focus on preliminary practices with 5 Dhyani Buddha sadhanas, self-healing. Once we have some familiarity with it, then we can do the practice of the environment, of the 5 mothers. Then after that, we can unite 5 mothers with the 5 fathers. We can unite the self-healing with the environment practice. It's a very nice teaching. I already said that one day I will give this explanation. We do it soon to teach how to do the two practices together. Okay, it's actually quite simple, technically speaking. So, don't every practice have a particular taste, and they are all very tasteful. Okay? But sometimes we just need to give emphasis to one specific part. Then we can do the others maybe a little bit more briefly, more shortly. We don't need to do that all the time, or we just do them more shortly, and then we give more emphasis to one main practice. This is my thought. And it can be many practices. I'm not saying that it must be the practice of self-healing, but it's just the fact that time passes, for all of us. Now I am 40. Tomorrow I am 60. Day after tomorrow, I'm 80. The day after, I am 1. Maybe before I get 1, who knows? Or maybe after. Okay, but I did the jump, each day was 20 years. So from 80 I have another 20 to go. But we don't know, and time passes, and sometimes there we are, maybe I do this practice, maybe I do that practice, and then we have so much and we get so busy with so many aspects of our lives. And Rinpoche gave to us the key. Everything is within self-healing. So what we need to do is we just need to sit down, and we need to study, and we need to go, and we need to meditate on it. Okay? Without too many excuses. Without too many maybe not, why this, maybe that. The word that comes to my mind is just do it. Like Nike. Just do it. No much going around. Oh, maybe because I thought would be. Just do it. Just sit down. Rinpoche gave us this beautiful, wonderful tool. We have it in our hands. Sometimes I felt a bit uncomfortable because Rinpoche did an incredible, unbelievable work of putting all the practice in such an accessible way for us, and then we receive this treasure, and somehow we act as if other practices, which our mind is not even adapted to it because it's based on other culture, are better that for us. I don't know if I'm clear. Every sadhana that I have seen up to date are completely valid. I'm not saying by any means that one sadhana is more valid than the other. What I am just saying is that life passes and we need to take upon ourselves and practice. And we can follow one or another. Like Rinpoche was telling me one time about one Lama. His practice was Yamantaka and Guru Puja. He would wake up very early in the morning, every day, and he would just sit and he would do the whole Guru Puja with a lot of attention, and then together with the Yamantaka sadhana, from early morning until his breakfast, he would do that. Then the whole rest of the day, he would do nothing. He would stay the rest of the day talking around. He liked very much to make jokes. He was like this, And he was a very particular Lama. When he passed away, Rinpoche was the one who took care of everything. And Rinpoche spoke very highly of him, had a lot of respect for him. Rinpoche said he didn't do anything else, just that. Every day the same sadhana. And here we are. We have what to do. If we know how to do well the preliminaries, we can do it with the text of the preliminaries, we can do with Guru Puja, it's the same thing. but we do well the preliminaries. We take refuge in really with correct intention. We generate the bodhicitta. We truly invite the holy beings to come, and the wisdom being become inseparable with the commitment being, truly, not just words. We concentrate with it. We go through the 7 limbs, one by one, deeply. We request the blessings, and then we go through the process of the sadhana as self-healing. And we go through the whole of it. So, it's a powerful tool of transformation to change our body, starting energetically, to change our mind, and to change our identity. So, just do it. And you can practice at any place, at any moment. There is no place where you cannot do the practice, you know. One time I heard that Lama Yeshe used to say that one of the best places to meditate in the West was the toilet. Because he was saying, it's a clean place where no one bothers you. You know? And he was saying, like, sometimes people may have like very busy family or in the office and go to the toilet, close, sit there. Take your time. Do your Guru Yoga practice, 5 minutes self-healing. No, may seem strange. But why not? Depending on the context in which we are. You know? And then, but what I want to say finally is just, please use it. Please bring it to your life in the best of your own abilities. Don't wait until the day when maybe you will have all the conditions to do it. Okay? The last thing to explain, which I said I would explain, so I will give a very short explanation about it, is the so-called Vajra recitation. In the practice of self-healing, it is added as an addendum. Okay? It's not part of the main core practice. It's done in the end, as Rinpoche was like, you finish this practice, then he was like, I give you a little bit taste of the next step, something like that, you know. It's just like making the imprints. Okay. Vajra recitation, it's a very special practice, quite secret, something that is not easily explained at all. I tried to receive some teachings in Tibet, connected to it. Rinpoche said, oh, ask Ken Rinpoche to give you the teachings about this subject. I went to Ken Rinpoche and I said, oh, Ken Rinpoche, could you please give me that teachings? He said initially, yes. Then the next day or the day after, whatever, he came to me and said, are you presently doing retreat on the completion stage of Guhya Samaja? I said, no. He said, me neither. The first requirement to give these teachings, to read the text and to explain it, is that both who teaches should have already at least done retreat on the completion stage of Guhya Samaja, and the one that is receiving the teaching must be doing retreat on the completion stage of Guhya Samaja. So the text remains close. You know? So, because what happens is that there are some exercises and some practices that there is no point learning if we don't do it. There are some things that they are very powerful and profound if done. Otherwise, it's just mental elaborations. One time I went also to Ken Rinpoche and I asked him that I wanted to learn one subject, which was one advice from one other Lama. I said, as you go to Tibet, try to learn this subject, which is called Jadrup in Tibetan. Jadrup, it's the formation of sounds. It's basically Sanskrit grammar in Tibetan language. And it's where you learn how sounds are created and formed. And it's very useful to understand the structure of mantras and things like that. So I asked him, can you teach me? He said, no, I am not the best person to teach. There is someone here in Tashilhunpo that can teach you. But he said to me, you will take so much energy to try to understand it. It's so complicated. You have more to do. Focus on what you can put into practice, what is more needed in your life and in the life of others. He said, if you learn Dradrup, it will be maybe nice, but there is no benefit for the people to whom you need to teach the Dharma. For your own self won't make big change on your own practice. So you have no time for this. No? And in the beginning I was a little upset. I said, come on, it's nice to learn. Then I understood that actually it was just an intellectual entertainment. The problem of intellectual entertainment or spiritual entertainment is that it's nice, but when we die, it's gone. And we don't take anything with us. Instead, we need to put our effort in what helps us to truly transform ourselves. Okay? And it's like one time I was in Nepal and came someone, a friend, and said, oh Lama, I'm going to see this other monk from the Nyingma tradition, and he's giving a certain empowerment. It's the first time that he gives to Westerners, and he can only give the empowerment 3 times in his life, and this is the second time that he's giving. It's something very special. Would you come? And then I said, no. Why? What you have against this tradition? I said, nothing. Why you don't come? I have so much food in my plate that I cannot digest. I'm not even able to eat all I have. Why should I go to look for more? It's a lack of respect. If I go to a master who is teaching with sincerity one technique, and I have no true intention to put it into practice because I have already so much to put into practice that I cannot do, then why should I go? It's a lack of respect even. So I said, no, sorry. Okay? And also Genlakpala, he reminded me a few times, he said, most of all, put into practice what you learn, more than accumulating knowledge. Unless you need to teach about all other subjects, like unless you need to teach about all the different tantras, and you need to teach about all different other subjects, learn what is useful and put into practice what we learn. This is what I think is truly important. Okay? So, I'm sorry if I put in these words, sometimes we get a little bit lost with spiritual entertainment, which is nice. No, nothing wrong with it, as long as we don't get too lost with it. We don't consume too much of our energy with the spiritual entertainment, which is we just pass our time and we enjoy instead of actually using it truly to transform our mind. So, the Vajra recitation is a part of the practice that, to be done correctly, requires the practitioner to have a very good level of experience of self-healing already. It means the practitioner should be able to have a good experience with the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and to have the capacity to direct one's own energy and have familiarity with the central channel and have some awareness with all of that. Okay? The way how Rinpoche have taught us is a preparation for the actual Vajra recitation. It's not the actual Vajra recitation. Okay? So in Tibetan it's called Tsampowa. Tsampowa means like representative. Okay? So it's like planting the seeds. Okay? In this practice, there are different forms of Vajra recitation. There is one form of Vajra recitation that is done when reciting mantras. Okay? But the essence, and then there is another form of Vajra recitation, which is done with a specific intention to make the subtle energy winds to absorb into the heart. Okay, that's in few words the objective of it. So, the one that we do in the end of self-healing, where normally we do, Om, and then as we recite the Om, we do this gesture, this mudra, okay? Which symbolizes, as we do Om, we imagine white light and nectar, bringing all the blessings of the body, of all holy beings. So imagine from our Guru and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, white light and nectar coming. That's why we do like this, which means we are receiving from all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of all the direction. Some people do like this, I saw, A little bit too much for me. Just a little bit in the front. And then you bring all the lights and nectar into the two nostrils as we inhale. And then with the mudra, we follow the left and the right channel. And 3 fingers below the navel, it enters into the central channel. The whole white light with the sound of Om fills the central channel, and the Om stops in our heart. So we focus with the Om in the heart, the vibration of the sound Om in the heart. Okay? Then A, red light, all the blessings of speech, enter through the right and left nostrils, enter into the central channel, fills the central channel, and then on top of the Om remains the A, red with vibrating of the sound A, and absorbs into the heart. Then we do the same thing with Hum, and then with Hum, with a blue light and nectar, bringing all the blessings of mind, of all Buddhas, enter to the nostrils, go through the right and left channels, 3 fingers below the navel, enters into the central channel, fills the central channel, and absorbs into the heart. Okay? Then as we do the Pe, okay, Pet literally means to sweep away, sweep. Okay? The literal meaning of Pe, it's like sweeping, okay? But the way how the sound Pe is formed, it represents lack of inherent existence. It represents emptiness, okay? So in the moment of Pe, it represents pulling away whatever other level of ignorance and interferences and energy blockages there may be, okay? So, sometimes we saw Rinpoche doing Pe 1 time, sometimes 5 times. If we do Pe 5 times, it means eliminating the 5 types of ignorances, which is the blockages connected to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, regarding the 5 wisdoms and so on. When we do it 1 time, we just focus, it's like as all the blessings of body, speech and mind enter into our own heart, absorbs into our subtle body and mind in our heart, there is no more space for ignorance. So ignorance goes away. Pe. Okay? Like all the blockages and especially ignorance is completely eliminated. When doing this, there is the representative way in which we recite the sound of Om, and we do the gesture with the mudra and so on, and then we do A. It doesn't necessarily need to be done in only 1 breath. I like to do it in this way, but it doesn't necessarily need to be done in that way. Okay? The most important is the actual visualization. The actual practice happens in silence and no movement, through what is called an inner recitation, okay, which is done by Om enters, A it stabilizes, and Hum it dissolves. There is different ways of this, okay? But normally it's what is called an inner recitation. You feel the inner vibration of the sound without making the actual sound. But in this moment of the practice, what Rinpoche has taught us is we just visualize white light, red light, blue light coming, filling our channels, and then absorbing into our heart. Okay? Then we do the same thing again with Om, Hum, and then Ah. The visualization is the same. The mudra is the same. The main difference is that Ah, it not only represents the pure speech, but it's also Amitabha. And Amitabha is one of the aspects of Buddha Amitayus. It's from the family of Buddha Amitabha. And Amitayus is the Buddha of long life. It's one of the manifestations of the energy of long life. And it is said that this meditation of the absorption of the winds in the heart chakra, in which we are somehow simulating and inducing the process of death, if not done correctly and so on, can make one's life shorter. So in order to avoid that type of negative side effect, it's done after that, the meditation for a long life. Okay? In which instead of only absorbing, we are keeping the energies of good health. So in the first moment, we absorb all the winds into the heart. In the second part, after the Pe, Om, Hum, Ah, we revitalize our own energies of mind and body. Okay? Focusing mainly later on the Ah, which is dedicated for long life. Okay? La visualizzazione, what we visualize as we do the Pe, is that any inner blockages, as we put with the light coming into our channels, any blockage in our channels is completely taken away. But we focus with the Pe on the lack of inherent existence, on emptiness itself. And by that, it's like if we disconnect completely from our own ignorance. So basically, the meaning of the Pe is also that of meditating on emptiness as the winds absorb into our heart. And by meditating on emptiness, we eliminate all sorts of inner and outer interferences. This is one of the meanings as we do the Pe. Okay? There is no particular visualization, as I know, of some like dark smoke going out or anything like that. We focus on the winds absorbing into the central channel, and then as we do the Pe, it's like if all our conceptual thoughts go away in a strong way, not like in a soft way. So in 1 second, then all the conceptual thoughts stop, all the mental elaborations stop, and in that state, we remain into this state of a much deeper state of consciousness within great bliss and emptiness. But as I said before, this is an explanation that there are long texts just about this Vajra recitation, which are quite difficult to understand actually. And it's a practice that is a very important practice, but then which is done into, it's done normally when we have already some level of preparation of the rest, you know. Some people ask me, how can I do? Because in the book of self-healing, it's written, when you do Om, you inhale. When you do Ah, you keep. When you do Hum, you exhale. No? How can I do that as I recite? Okay, you cannot. Okay? It's exactly because the Vajra recitation, it's one of the forms of doing the Vajra recitation, is that you inhale with Om, the energy comes, you inhale Om, you keep in the heart with Ah, and you exhale with Hum. Okay? This is one of the Vajra recitations. So for example, when doing the mantra recitation, this explanation, for example, is giving in many details on the Tantra of Guhya Samaja when explaining how to recite the mantra. So as we are doing the mantra, we have in our heart the syllable Hum. It's Buddha Akshobhya as we do self-healing, for instance, Akshobhya in the heart. So you have Akshobhya in the heart of Akshobhya is the Hum, around Akshobhya is Oma Akshobhya Hum, around the Hum at the heart of Akshobhya. Then, the visualization actually starts with Hum, okay? So we exhale. As we exhale, the emanations go from our heart out to help sentient beings. Exhale Hum. Then you inhale with the inner sound of Om. The emanations come back, enter to our central channel, stabilize at our heart, and then we keep the breath with the sound of A. Focus on the syllable Hum at the heart. Then you exhale with Hum, and the emanations go out to help sentient beings. And then you inhale with Om. You keep it with A. You focus on all the winds that come, they absorb into the heart with the sound of A, and then they emanate again with the sound of Hum. Okay? To do this correctly, you need to have some experience with breathing. You need to be able to do some long breathing, and need to be able to also make the space between inhaling and exhaling. Okay, and between exhaling and inhaling. And then this is also one of the forms of the so-called Vajra recitation. That's why if you read in self-healing, it's saying, you inhale with Om, you keep the breath with A, and you exhale with Hum. And a few times people came to me and said, sorry, this is written in the sadhana, but how can I do? And people try to do Om, A, Hum, you know. And that's not the way, okay? So when we do reciting, we are doing some sort of preparation for Vajra recitation, okay? It's a representation of actual Vajra recitation, okay? And the Vajra recitation, as I said, there are different forms and there are different meanings, and one of the main meanings is learning how to make our subtle energy winds to absorb into our central channel on the heart. The issue is that if we don't follow the sadhana correctly, and we don't have familiarity with the sadhana from the beginning, and we just focus, for example, into the Vajra recitation with the Om Ahum, we may have so much lung, so much anxiety. Because if we don't follow the practice in the correct steps, and we focus just on the heart, and we focus all the energy on everything absorbing into the heart, and you don't do it with the correct steps, it will generate so much anxiety. Okay? So that's why it is one of the small reasons why to follow the steps. Okay? But on the same time that we follow the steps, we know the steps to be followed. Okay? But you can have some experience. You can try to do this very beautiful meditation. As you do the Om Ahum, the Om you inhale, receive all the blessings, enter into the central channel, and as it fills the central channel with the inner sound of Ah, it absorbs into the heart completely. And we keep our breath after inhaling. Then we exhale with the sound of Hum. Goes out to all sentient beings, fulfilling the two purposes, making offerings to holy beings, helping sentient beings. Then as we finish exhaling, we keep the breath for a bit. And then again, we inhale with Om, and all the emanations and blessings come back again and reabsorb into us, enter into the central channel, absorb into the heart with the sound of Ah. And then remain there. We keep our breath with the sound of Ah. Then we exhale again with the sound of Hum. Okay? And we do this. This is called also Vajra recitation. Okay? The reason why I explain is because I think that sure there is someone that may be prepared to practice correctly. And for those of us who are not really ready to do this type of practice, at least we have a roadmap. We have an idea of what are the steps that can be done. And that's also very important, you know. And also following the footsteps of Rinpoche, in which he opened everything without any sort of, the right word is not spiritual miserliness. It's like sometimes there is a fact of not giving everything because one feels that the other one is not ready and so on. No? What I have seen Rinpoche doing is that he put all the food on the table and each one of us only eat what we are able to eat. But at least the food is there and any moment we can go to it. You know? So we share everything and then each one will put into practice in accordance to our own capacity and experience. But for those of you who already have some experience with self-healing, it's possible, basically, especially after doing the completion stage, when you have done the mantras of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. In this moment, you can focus in one Dhyani Buddha, any one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, even better to do with Akshobhya in the heart, and then do the Om Ahum. In silence. Okay? And if outside of the meditation moment you do some small training in pranayama on breathing technique, you know, training in exhaling, having long exhaling, and then keeping the breath between we exhale, then inhaling deeply and keeping the breath between inhaling again. And then we do this and we are able to do this breathing in 4 cycles, no? Which is inhale, keep, exhale, keep. Then inhale again. To do a little bit of this training, it's actually very useful later. Okay? And one last part, one of the prayers that is done after that is Tumichi we tsema toana te möla mikyo dorjeku sewa tone che da pachomte chimeritsi nyordu tobrasho. So one small detail about phonetic is that some time ago someone started to recite Tumichi we tsema toana te möla mikyo dorjeku sewa tone che da palchomte chimeritsi nyordu tobrasho. It's not pal, it's pa. Pal means one thing, pa means another in Tibetan, okay? Pal means excellent, pa means hero. And in this case is pa of hero, okay? But the meaning of this prayer, I took some time to reflect upon it. It says, if foreseen signs of a premature death, may I, by the clear vision of Mikyo Dorje, the immovable Vajra, defeat the Lord of Death and rapidly obtain the Siddhi of immortality. The word here, Lord, is this pa, okay? So, first question, what are signs of premature death? What is a premature death? But the main question that I always made to myself when listening to this prayer is, how can I make a request to receive the blessings to reach the state of immortality if immortality is not possible? Is it possible not to die? What do you believe? I don't believe it's possible. And why Rinpoche didn't do, why Buddha Shakyamuni didn't do, Come on. Immortality is not feasible. It is said that Nagarjuna, after living for 900 years, or 600 years, whatever, I don't remember precisely, died. Okay? So it's possible to have a very long life, but at some point, this life as we know it ends. So what's the meaning of immortality? Then the second, what is the point of being immortal if it would be possible? There is no point, sincerely. I see no benefit into having an immense long life with all our samsara and our issues. Imagine, I always try to, when I think about this extremely long life, what would it be to go to a psychologist after having lived for 500 years, Imagine how many breaks up, and because this partner, and because that son, and then we have already the great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson, and then this did this, and that did that, and then we have the trauma of one time mixed up with the trauma of the other. Poof, When I think about this, I say, what a blessing is to die and be reborn, It's like reset, on the gross level at least, Because, sorry, I just add this in between. A lot of our issues in this life are on a gross level. All the traumas from our childhood and all of this, most of this, it's on a subtle and gross level, but it's not on a very subtle level that continues from life to life. And when we die, we make a sort of reset, not complete reset, but on some level, yes. It's like when we go to sleep. When we are very tired and too many thoughts and sadness and so on, and we go to sleep, when we wake up in the next morning, we feel a bit better, no? It's similar to that. So I don't think dying is anything wrong or bad about it, sincerely speaking. So we go back to the prayer. If I see signs of a premature death is basically the death that happens before the time of our own life force energy is fully consumed. Okay? When we are born, we all hold a certain amount of life energy. Okay? It's possible to die before this life energy is fully consumed. We can die by an accident, we can die because of a particular disease, we can die in many other ways, which are conditions in which we die, but actually our energy is not fully consumed. Okay? But when we say if we're seeing signs of a premature death, the main meaning is if I perceive that I am about to die, basically. Okay? If we're seeing signs of premature death, may I, with the clear vision of Mikyo Dorje, the immovable Vajra, Mikyo Dorje is Akshobhya, may I, with the inner stability of Buddha Akshobhya, defeat the Lord of Death and rapidly obtain the city of immortality. What is death? Death is when we are not able to keep an identity of oneself because that the gross body loses its strength and the subtle mind also goes away and we are not able to keep an identity. Okay? If every time we go to sleep, we would wake up with a new identity, could we say that it was a new life? If we could make no connection between one day and the other in our mind, full amnesia, would that be like a new life every day? It would be like dying. So, why can I say, oh, I was there yesterday? Because I have continuity of identity. Even though I fall asleep and there is total blank, when I wake up, I still have the connection. It was me that went to sleep. I have the memory of it. I have continuity. If we are able to keep our awareness, our identity, as we die, as we enter into the bardo, as we are reborn, and we are capable to keep one continuous line of identity from death to bardo and to rebirth, is like reaching immortality. Okay? It's not the fact of not needing to die physically. It's the fact of overcoming what is called the involuntary death. Involuntary death is that when we die without any capacity of control and with any awareness of what is happening. To be able to overcome the Lord of Death, from my own understanding, it means to be able to die with the full awareness of the process of death, to have control of the bardo, and to choose how and where to be reborn. Keeping the full awareness of identity from one life to the other, just like we have from one day to the other. Okay, this is to reach immortality and to defeat the Lord of Death. In other words, what we are saying is, when the moment of my death will come, may I, through the stability of Akshobhya represents stability, or may I, through the vision of, sometimes we say Guru Buddha, sometimes we make this prayer with Vajrayogini or with any other Buddha, okay? May I, by having the awareness and the identity of being Akshobhya. Akshobhya is also like the union of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas in a way. May I, by the awareness of being myself, Guru Buddha, may I be able to transform the process of death into the Dharmakaya into the Sambhogakaya, and the rebirth into the Nirmanakaya. The death into the Dharmakaya, the bardo into the Sambhogakaya, the rebirth into the Nirmanakaya. In other words, may I be able to die with full awareness and transform my death into a pure state of very subtle consciousness called clear light and Dharmakaya. May through that I be able to direct myself in a pure way and with full awareness and control in the bardo, and may I be reborn where I want, how I want, wherever I feel it's of greater benefit, with full awareness and control. Okay? This is my own understanding of this prayer. Okay? The reason why we make this type of prayers is because we direct our wishes, we direct our intentions. And as one of my gurus, Dragon Rinpoche, said once to me, the first thing that we need to do in order for anything to happen is to wish for it. Okay. So, one other prayer that we also do in self-healing is, normally after Lama Kunjo Sumla Kyapsuchi, we do Dorna Ditsu Nam Kargewetso Chinya Sakpa Te Nyordoda Norbo Panzo Shamba Larkene Lame Lamgirim Patarchin Sho, which is the prayer in which we request, through the merits that I have here generated, may through the positive energy that I have here generated, may I be reborn into Shambhala, and by being reborn into Shambhala, may I be able to complete the full path to enlightenment. Rinpoche changed some word inside this prayer. And he would recite it in both ways. Sometimes Rinpoche recited Dorna Ditsu Namkar Gewetso Chinya Sakpa Te Nyordoda Norbo Banzo Shamba Lar Kiene Lame Lamgirimpa Tarshinsho. And sometimes Rinpoche would say Dorna Ditsu Namkar Gewetso Chinya Sakpa Te Nyordoda Norbo Banzo Shamba Lar Gyurne. Instead of Kiene, he would say Gyurne Lame Lamgirimpa Tarchinsho. The main difference is that in the first version, which says, may I be made to the merits, Dorna Ditsu Namkar Gewetso Chinya Sapate Nyurto Dak. Through the power of all the positive energy that I've here generated, may I be reborn as soon as possible in Shambhala. And by being reborn in Shambhala, which is this pure land, may I be able to fulfill the path to enlightenment and become a Buddha myself for the benefit of others. The way our Rinpoche changed is Shambhala Gyurne, may I transform this world into Shambhala. And by transforming this world into Shambhala, may I fulfill the path to enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. Shambhala, making a long story short, it's this idea of a place that is part of the human realm. It's the story of this king, that the king started to make the practice on Vajrayana, in particularly the practice of Kalachakra, and he taught everyone on the kingdom to do the same practice. Okay? Like just imagine one small city, a small kingdom. Okay? Nowadays everyone connected, but imagine that we take one town. Okay? And it becomes the main priority of the whole town to practice self-healing. Okay? Remembering that there is one part of self-healing which I have not even touched these days, which I have already committed many times to teach, I will do it, which is how to practice between sessions. It's how to practice self-healing when we wake up, when we dress, when we wash, when we eat, when we work. The practice should be present at every moment of our life. So imagine how it would be if you take a whole town. Doesn't need to be very big. Take 1 million people. And you take this whole town that the main priority of life is to practice self-healing. And everyone is putting a lot of emphasis. It's being taught to the kids, the elderly are doing, everyone is putting emphasis into it, and it becomes like the main theme of the whole town. Okay? What happens is that the more people do something, the easier it becomes for others to do it also. We influence each other. So it is said that in Shambhala, the king and everyone start to do the practice of Kalachakra, and the level of consciousness and the energy level start to become so much higher that it is said that at a certain point, the whole town dematerialized and became into another level. It's part of the human realm, but it's like in another level. Okay? And there are many myths of how to reach Shambhala, the pathway to Shambhala. There are many texts on how to go to Shambhala, how to enter, the path to go to Shambhala, and there are like so many things around it. Okay? It's like the lineage of the Panchen Lamas have very strong connection with Shambhala. It is said that when Panchen Losang Chogi Gensen wrote the Guru Puja, he sent to the king of Shambhala to read it. And he sent it to Shambhala, then he got it back, and they say, okay, that's good, like when we have proofreading. He sent it for proofreading into Shambhala, then it came back, like many stories like this. And Rinpoche has always given a lot of emphasis to Shambhala and a strong connection to it. But what Rinpoche very often told us later was that our main objective is not to be reborn in Shambhala, which is possible, but our main objective is to transform our own reality into Shambhala. And how we do that? By practicing, by elevating our own level of consciousness. It's like if everyone in a town starts to act with anger, we can make very easily a common hell. If everyone starts to act with love and respect and gratitude and starts to elevate one's own level of consciousness, we can make heaven out of it. Okay? So the prayer that we do in the end of self-healing is, through the energy that I've here generated, through all my merits, may I quickly be able to transform this place into Shambhala, into this pure context. And through that, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood. Okay. So this is another whole subject that we could open another day. Now is not the moment to open a new subject. Okay, Shambhala. And there are many, many myths about Shambhala. Okay. But the most important aspect for me regarding also Shambhala is the fact that we elevate the level of the surrounding and the environment by our own spiritual practice. And the more we do the practice, the more we elevate our own level, the more we help others to do it also. Okay? So Rinpoche put very clear to us, the objective is not to go to Shambhala, the objective is to practice well and to elevate our own levels of consciousness in order to help others to do the same. Okay? So with this, we can conclude this brief explanation on self-healing. As I said before, this time I didn't give the whole commentary on self-healing on a very, very structured way. It's possible to do in a much more structured way. But I just wanted to share with you some of my own understanding of the practice. Okay? And there is another part of the practice which I would like soon to share with you, which is called How to Practice Between Meditation Sessions. And it has many different parts, starting on how to wake up, how to wash, how to dress, how to eat, how to speak, how to do every daily action, how to wash, I said yes, okay, up until how to go to sleep. Okay, and one time I was in a plane going to Brazil, and near to me was a young boy from an Orthodox Jewish tradition. The boy was very kind, very nice, and I was observing, he couldn't make anything without making a prayer first. Like every small thing, there was a prayer for it. And he did it beautifully. I was touched by it in a way, It was very nice to see. And then we didn't talk much. He had his own food, he offered to me, I offered him something, we had some nice moments. But it was beautiful to see this way, And he remembers also me, Lama Lawang. He used to watch, at one time, he used to watch a lot of TV, and he liked very much the channels from the Middle East, where was showing Mecca. And he would stay hours watching all the Muslims praying, and he would say to me, if we would be so diligent as them, we would reach enlightenment so fast, For example, in the Islamic tradition, there is the tradition of making prayers 5 times a day, right? Okay? In our Buddhist tradition, Vajrayana tradition is 6 times a day. There are 6 moments in which there are changes of energy, which is the moment in which we should do the practice. Tibetans are very good to find shortcuts and how to make things more simple. So because we need to do 6 times a day, they make 3 in the morning, 3 in the night. You recite the same thing 3 times in the morning, 3 times in the night, you complete the 6. Which in a way, it's better than not doing it at all. But the meaning is that we should practice during the 6 particular periods, because these are moments in which the energy changes and our mind can change in that moment also. Okay? And when you see in the Islamic tradition, they do 5 times at whatever time they want, or there is specific times? There are specific times, and they follow. So Lama Lawang used to tell me sometimes, oh, we need to be like them. Take example. They do it so well. And I don't like looking at this young Orthodox boy. What I was seeing is the fact of having a prayer for every small action we also have in our tradition. It's just not a rule that you must do, but it's there. But because we don't learn it as a rule, at some level we don't do it even, Like even the prayers before eating, very often we just go fast. Oh, I'm hungry, We have such beautiful meditations before eating. Such special practices for eating. And very often there we are in a hurry, because we feel hungry. So what I want to say is that how to practice between sessions is as important as what we practice during meditation session. And we need to give attention to it. In other words, it's how to keep awareness, how to identify ourselves with the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, how to connect with the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and the qualities in our daily life. So for example, we are in our daily life and then suddenly there is a moment of some tension. We connect with Akshobhya. We identify ourselves with Akshobhya in our heart, and then we will connect with that energy of stability, of patience, and then we apply it to the situation. We connect to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas in the events of our daily life. We shouldn't keep the 5 Dhyani Buddhas just to the meditation. We need to apply the 5 Dhyani Buddhas in our daily life. When we see, jealousy is coming, and then we connect, not just we recite, it's not like asking Amoghasiddhi, please do something for me. Is we identify ourselves with Amoghasiddhi, and by generating that strong qualities of Amoghasiddhi, naturally that jealousy fades away. At least we try. So connect with the practice. Connect with the 5 Dhyani Buddhas every day, at every moment. Use it at any level that you want. Okay? This is one of the keys. Because where do we pass more time in our life? During meditation sessions or in between meditation sessions? We pass more time in between. Sometimes it may last 1 week in the between period, or 1 month, who knows? Okay, in between we just recite self-healing. Maybe we even don't meditate on it. Okay. So it's really important for us to try to bring to our everyday life. The Guru Yoga, we request the blessings of the Guru in everyday actions. When we visualize Guru Buddha in our heart, when we are in a difficult moment, we take refuge in Guru Buddha in our heart. When we are experiencing something pleasure and beautiful, we offer to Guru Buddha in our heart. We have the 5 Dhyani Buddhas in our chakras, in our daily life. And then there is a moment of too much attachment coming on. We focus on Amitabha, satisfaction. We concentrate and we identify ourselves with Amitabha, satisfaction. We can connect with the qualities of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas as an antidote to be applied to our daily life. This is something that it's also very powerful, because if we start creating more and more familiarity with the meaning of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, when we see that the defilements are arising, we need to take refuge. We need to go and ask, Amitabha. Identify yourself with Amitabha. By identifying oneself with Amitabha, we generate satisfaction. And by generating satisfaction, there is no more space for that insatisfaction. And the same thing we do with the jealousy, or with the miserliness, or with the arrogance, or with the anger. Sometimes we will be able to do it, sometimes not. But we do it. And gradually we are able to make it better and better and better. Okay? And one very beautiful way is that there is a moment in which, by applying the practice in meditation and out of meditation, there is one moment in which there is no more difference between the two. Our consciousness remains in the same level when we are meditating and not meditating. It's like a constant flow. And it's a constant flow of awareness and so on. Anyhow. I'm sorry I opened a new subject when we are about to finish. Okay? But I think that's auspicious, so that we will continue with it. And just remember that the practice of self-healing, it's not something difficult. It's something that everyone can practice, and please do it. But at the same time, it's a process for one lifetime. There is always something new to learn. There is always something new to go deeper into the practice. It's a lifetime process. And for me, this is so special, Normally, we learn something, and at one point, it's not enough anymore. Then we need to go to something new. Self-healing is something that it's useful in the very beginning, and it can be our companion to enlightenment until the end. Okay? And I think this is all. And before we conclude today, we will do our final dedications. And then we do the mandala offering. And then we will do the dedication prayers with the swift return prayers. Okay, so if someone can help with the little booklets of the swift return prayers. And for me, self-healing is the biggest gift that Rinpoche did for us. And I just like to remember that in the past years, I was requesting Rinpoche many times, Rinpoche, let's do a retreat on self-healing. And Rinpoche used to say to me, yes, we need to do. That's what we really need to do. And he would tell me a few times, he said, being sincere, after teaching self-healing, I thought not to teach any other practice because it is enough. But we are used with so many practices, we like so many practices, so finally I teach many things. But it's enough. So we need just to sit down and to practice and to bring it to our life, make it part of our own life. And I truly believe it's one of the greatest gifts, is our greatest heritage that we receive from Rinpoche. And we make it alive by practicing it. Okay? And if I may, I like just to say one small bracket. Sometime, someone may have like the intuition or the wish to change something inside the practice of self-healing. To add stuff, to change things, and so on. Okay? If you are doing the practice for your own self and you like to add little bit something and so on, as long as you don't change the practice, try it. I would not do it, but try it. Okay. But Rinpoche already taught self-healing in a very precise way and very complete. There is a particular way of saying in Tibetan, which is without anything missing and without anything which should not be there. There is nothing more than what needs to be there, and there is nothing less than what needs to be there. Okay, with the right thing. So we don't need to go and recreate new versions of self-healing. Okay, I say this because I see it happening sometimes, and that there is this, because sometimes we have these beautiful intuitions and these beautiful experiences, and maybe we want to share it, but we already have a very clear path. We already have a very clear teaching, and we need to first realize it and stick to it. So inside your own practice, if you have any particular intuition and you like to add or to do something, this is your practice. Feel free to do as you like. But please follow the process. Self-healing has a very precise beginning, middle, end. It's not like I take out the symbols because I think I don't need them. Everyone is free to do as you like, but I don't advise it. On the other side is there is no need to make new, different versions of self-healing. Okay? I just close the brackets. It's nothing important, but I just prefer to add it. Okay, it just came to my mind. So Rinpoche gave us this most incredible method, this most special method, and we need to deepen into it. We need to understand it deeply. We need to have our own experience and hold it as the most precious treasure we have ever received. Because the teachings are important. But I'm sorry, I don't know if you have seen, I am always repeating the same stuff again and again. Why? Because there is not so much to be known. Once, we went through renunciation, bodhicitta, correct view of reality, and some other things. Now you just need to put it into practice. And the tool to make it happen, it's what is the most important. And self-healing is a very profound and powerful tool to bring it beyond the conceptual state, to realize it truly, deeply within us. Okay? So make the best use of it. And also one other thing, when Rinpoche first taught self-healing, he also gave one very special thing, which is said, everyone is allowed to practice independently if you have received or not initiation or transmission. Okay? When we did together the practice, it functions also as a transmission of the practice. Everyone can do the practice at any moment, at any given moment. There is no any restriction for that. There are some types of practices which there are restrictions. Rinpoche, since the very beginning, didn't make any restriction regarding it. Okay? So this is just one more thing. And then the last thing is that as we make our practice and we do it in the best way of our own abilities, this is also one of the best ways to pray for Rinpoche's swift return. Okay? Because I truly believe the best way to create the conditions for Rinpoche to be reborn in the best condition possible. You know, we have no hurry that Rinpoche is reborn. We have the need that he is reborn within the best conditions. It may take 1 year, it may take 10 years. The important thing is that the right conditions are there and he come back in a gross body with the best way of what we truly need. Okay? And one of the best prayers that we can do, other than doing their swift return prayers, which I think I have them here. No, I don't. Somewhere. Yeah? The other thing that we can do, other than making the swift return prayers, is to put into practice what Rinpoche has taught us. And one of the most important things is put into practice self-healing. Okay? So we make now our dedications, and we dedicate the merits of these days that we have been here together, of this commentary on self-healing. We dedicate mainly for that we can never be separated from the perfect Guru in this life, in every life, that we can always be guided on the path and that we may be able to follow the path in the best way possible. We dedicate specially also for everyone that is sick, that may be able to find a state of peace in the body and in the mind. No? Nowadays we have this pandemic, which is not really for me what worries me the most. We have much other types of epidemics, and one of them is of mental diseases on different levels, which are actually much more worrying than coronavirus itself on one way. Okay, but again, I don't want to open another subject. So we dedicate all our merits for the health of everyone, physical health, mental health, and most of all, we rejoice of having this wonderful opportunity of being here together. Because one of the most important things on the path is to be able to keep this profound and joyful connection that we have from heart to heart. Okay? And to have the joy in the Dharma, and to have the pleasure of being together into this path, and to have this connection. Rinpoche gave this to us, we keep it, we share it, and we are here together with it. And this is so wonderful. Okay? So I feel very joyful that we are here together. And by being here together, I don't mean only physically here in this moment. I mean we are here together in this path, in this life together. And this makes me very happy. And that not only those that are physically here, so many people that are at home that cannot be here today also. Okay? So whenever, just for people that are not physically here, whenever I'm giving the teachings and doing the practice, very often I look to the camera and I think who is behind. I try to somehow to connect with everyone that is on the other side. You know? And then this is also something that I think it's a powerful tool that we have, and we should truly use it, as we are doing already. So I'm very happy that we are together. We dedicate our merits for the swift return of Rinpoche with the best conditions. We dedicate our merits that the center can continue to grow for the benefit of all of us. I have seen so many people coming to me and saying, oh, when I come to Albagnano, it's like really going to a pure land. It's a magical place. It brings me so much benefit, and so on. So it belongs to all of us. And then when we care, when we love, we care, we take care. So please, everyone, we continue together to take the best care that we can of our own holy, pure land. Okay? I remember very well, one day I came back from Tibet, and I was walking with Rinpoche on the path here. Rinpoche was very happy, and they said, oh, welcome back to our pure land. Then he said, I have no doubt it's a pure land, but if you don't know how to see it as such, you can still experience it as hell. No? So we have this capacity, and I'm seeing that more and more through the blessings of Rinpoches and the actions of everyone. We are making it more and more, this place, beautiful, with a good energy. People are being benefited by it. When we are here every day, maybe we feel it less. When we come for a few days, we feel it more. But I dedicate all the merits that this place can continue to grow and be of benefit for everyone that may come here, may receive benefit, may be able to have their mind and heart touched, okay, in a positive way. And so now we make the prayers. First we do the mandala offering, and then after we will do our final dedications, and I stop speaking now for the moment, otherwise I will open another subject. But the conclusion is that I really feel truly happy that we are here together. I'm not going to start again the commentary as an auspicious way because we have not really finished it, as we still need to go through how to practice in between the meditation sessions. Okay? So we will just now do together the mandala offering. The mandala offering now, when we're doing the end of every session and in the end of the teachings, represents as we manifest our gratitude for what we have received. Okay? Saya Shiapeki Cho Shiameto Tamare Rab She ni de gempa di sange shinto mikte ulwarki drokun nam da shin lam chopar Tumi chiwe tsema tongwana teme la kudorje ku sewa tongne chida pajumte chime rikzin yurdu toparasho Tumi chiwe tsema tongwana teme la sundorje ku sewa tongne chida pajumte Chime riksin yurdu toparasho tumi chiw tsema tongwana teime la tudorje ku sewa tongne chida pajumte chime riksin yurdu toparasho jetsun lame kutse namkara lasciala qua prende adesso prendo una Sasungi Drove Michel takto kadit benek. Yedam Guru Ratna Mandrala Kam